Hello, beautiful people. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Dante here with you, and today I want to talk a little bit about my own experience here with the fear that comes up around this virus in others and in myself, and the fear that is moving through the collective right now. And I want to give some tools that we can all use to work with that fear and to go beyond the fear because, fear and love are two sides of the spectrum, and that yet all of the energy is ultimately the same. It's all one. So it's the same energy of fear that we work with by embracing it, and it allows us to move up on that spectrum. So it's like all energy is the same. It just expresses itself at different vibrations. It's not that you want to destroy fear entirely or fight with people who are afraid, try to convince them to not be afraid. None of that really works very efficiently. Um, Even now, I work with the fear of just going out and making a video and putting myself out in a vulnerable way. Some of you may have tuned into my live streams, and when I'm channeling live stream, it's pretty easy because I'm quite used to channeling. And when I just have to talk at the camera in a live stream, I start to get freaked out, but I do it anyway. So fear, it's all arising in the collective. We're afraid of each other because we're afraid of a disease. We're afraid of communicating that disease to other people. Alternatively, we are afraid of the economy collapsing and losing our jobs and losing money and not being able to make it. Alternatively, we may be afraid of not knowing what to do with all this time that we have, with really sitting with ourselves, or we may be afraid of how all these changes in society are going to affect us personally, or we may not really know what we're afraid of, but the vibration that is rising in the collective may stir us and may bring us to kind of retract within ourselves to some degree. And I've noticed all of this happening here when I guess it's been 12 days now that they announced quarantine measures in Guatemala, or curfews, and no public transportation between towns, and no events or gatherings. And so this kind of put a lot of us in this questioning mode. And my interesting journey with fear, the way fear usually manifests for me, is when I'm at a crossroads and the fear of what could go wrong when I take one of those paths arises. It becomes so much bigger than the feeling I have of what I really want. And so my journey is in noticing when I make decisions that are based in fear, that energy comes with me along the way and always kind of persistently bothers me, keeps me in a lower vibration of anxiety or depression, and it as well can keep manifesting at different choice points until I make a choice with calm and ease and grace and a complete and full trust. So for me, getting to that place only comes through pausing and really taking that time off to sit with myself and how I'm really feeling, to sit with the energy in my body and hold a space of love open for it, to allow the mind to keep going, but bring myself into the thoughts. Bring myself into the sensation and the feeling in my body, not into the thoughts. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So yeah, when all of this came up, I decided to retreat and go away, and got a deal on this place that was further away from town, and it was quite beautiful, and in a way I got a good little mini retreat out of going there, though it was kind of counterproductive to my real intention, which was to do a lot of videos online to kind of keep my online presence going, to connect with people around the world through this intense time. The internet wasn't working. And so even though it offered me this peaceful container, I had to move out, and I also come to realize through it that it's just being in this more connected field in a community where I'm at now with other people around me that allows me to keep kind of raising my vibration through reflection, to stay centered in love. When we all can hold the vibe together, it's a lot easier. And so that's why, even though we're in this time of everyone is distancing themselves from each other, we have to raise our vibration by reflecting love with others, whether that's online or with the people around you. A bit of both is important. So even when I came back, I kind of had some fear that, oh no, it's too loud here, there's too many sounds, even if I can upload the videos, they won't be good enough. So that the fear vibration, when you don't work with it and clear it from your body, it just keeps manifesting into new and new and new thoughts. And I had to kind of surrender completely and let it all go, and really kept getting the message in divination methods of focus on the joy and bring that energy in. And that's the energy that we really need to transform and create anything, is passion, love, joy. What brings us love? We can still focus on that, even if it's in the smallest way. So focusing our vibration in the love and in the joy. And so people are in a big state of fear. Going back to this, the methods that help us release fear. And the first one is more of a tool for your mental body. So there's many different layers of us, right? The physical body, the emotional body, mental body, spiritual body. And fear has to be worked through on each of these levels. So I'm going to talk from mental body to physical body, and then maybe we can contemplate a bit how we release fear from the spiritual body. So in the mental body, it's all about ideas, concepts, and when we have what yoga calls samskaras, they're patterns. We play a pattern out, and it's imprinted in our auric field, or it comes to us from other lifetimes if you ascribe to that way of looking at it. And once that pattern is there, it's very easy to keep looping it. It's almost automatic. So in order to break a pattern, it's necessary to have that pause. And so when your fear is in terms of what is going to happen in the future, one of the best things to do is to sit and write down the entire future situation. Play out Murphy's Law in your mind for the sake of it. So you take out paper and pen. This isn't what that is, but you would write, I am going to get coronavirus. I might go to the hospital. I might be stuck there for a long time. I might infect my grandmother with coronavirus. My grandmother might die from coronavirus. She will pass away and there will be a funeral. And then you get to the end. That's sad. So then you sit with that and ask yourself the question when you get to the end of it, could I handle that? How does that really make me feel? And this will lead you into working with your emotional body, right? Because if you get to the very end result that you're fearing, then there's a more complex layer of emotions and thoughts and beliefs that you get to, that you work to unravel. So that's kind of maybe a very basic example. Another example could be, I'm afraid that everything is shutting down. I'm afraid that the next step will be this is in place for longer. I'm afraid that I won't be able to leave where I'm at. I'm afraid that the totalitarian government is going to take complete control and we're going to be powerless and helpless. So get to that point and see if you can just sit with that and accept that and imagine, what could you do? How could you respond to such a situation? These are kind of the two extremes that people are kind of facing now with their fears, that they're either afraid that they're going to lose the ones they love, or they're going to lose their own life, or they're afraid that they are going to lose their power, their ability to control their lives, which we don't really have that ability to some extent already. We have the power to influence the direction we're going. We have the power to control our experience, but we don't have control of what's going to happen. If you didn't get that yet, we have some other work to do. But so these are the kind of extremes. And if you can really imagine that situation and allow yourself the kind of mental space to go into it, what does that loss feel like? What does that loss of control feel like? And I want to invite you to imagine ways that you could respond to that situation, ways that you could work with the tools that you know, or that you know you are capable of, or exist somewhere out there. I want you to imagine those that you could ask for support, and really playing out the worst case scenario is something that we need to do to kind of understand the facets of our negative mind, so that we can say, okay, now I'm going to release you. And so this, as with the other tools, only works to a certain extent. It only works if you use it in combination with some of the other tools. So working with the emotional body, clearing fear at this deeper level. We talk about our emotional body. It's also about sensation. It's a deeper layer into our body, closer to the body. So if we're talking about an energetic structure to our being, our thoughts exist as a field of energy that extends beyond our body. So they're actually occurring outside of our body before that energy enters in, right? And so the emotional body is composed of all of these layers of feeling and sensation. And this practice, I find, is actually a lot more effective than the one that talking about the mental body, that just takes you to the very end and forces you to kind of mentally, emotionally grapple with that and accept it to some extent, so that you're not resisting it, fighting against it, and trying to push it away. Because when we're in that really strong state of resistance, we actually attract the very thing we don't want. Clearing the emotional body is as simple as closing your eyes, and we can do it right now. Just close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths in. So you breathe in, filling your lungs to their full capacity. Maybe the first time exhaling through your mouth, maybe letting out a sigh. Taking another deep, full, complete breath in, and exhaling through your nose. And another full, complete breath in, and exhale through your nose. And then notice in your body where there may be tension or pain. Bring your awareness there. And continue expanding your awareness of the pain and expanding your awareness of your breathing. You can control your breathing. You can allow it to be relaxed. If you control your breathing, breathe into that place where there's tension. And if you're just relaxing your breathing, notice the energy flowing into that place and moving out of it. As you do this, create a distance or a cutting between yourself and your thoughts. Imagine that there's a scissors or a knife or some magic wand that you can swat away your thoughts, so that you retain some awareness of them, but you're not giving them all of your focus. You're just giving your focus to the sensation. And as you breathe into that sensation, imagine that on the exhalation, that sensation can expand through your body. Perhaps you're feeling an energy blockage in your knee, your shoulder, in your heart, in your head, in your face. Wherever that energy blockage is, breathe into it, and on the exhale, see if that sensation can expand to the rest of your body until you feel more of your body vibrating with that energy. Don't label or judge this sensation as good or bad. Simply experience it. You can even label it sensation. If thoughts want to keep coming up, you can even use that word sensation as a mantra, or pain as a mantra. So bring your focus into it. If you have processes of emotional release as you do that, allow it. Continue bringing your focus into your body and into where you feel that sensation, until perhaps you can bring that sensation to encompass your entire body, that your whole body is vibrating with that sensation. And the more that energy spreads, the more that the tension is being released, because the pain was really from that big energy being trapped in one part of your body. All of that focus going towards keeping it constrained. And when you allow it room to breathe, space to expand, just returns. So working with the emotional body is really just as simple as taking yourself deeper into your body and feeling and allowing it, and to not identify with the stories that arise out of that pain. So when we bring ourselves to that level of pure emotion, pure sensation, and use the breath to move that energy, we can really shift our vibration to a point where we don't even remember what we were afraid or worked up about, and it just moves and completely clears from us. So things that you can add on to this process is to give that sensation area a color. Imagine it has a color, and when you breathe in energy, you can imagine breathing in white light or any color that you like. And a lot of people work with different color systems where they have different meanings, and I think that the personal meaning you ascribe to the color is going to be a lot more important than working with the systems out there, though those systems also work for a reason, as most of them come from sort of a channeling of our collective unconscious, the collective unconscious meanings that humans as a whole have ascribed to certain colors, energies, symbols, vibrations, and so on. So you can work with those. And if you already do this intuitive work and Reiki or something of this nature, you have the tools and can go even deeper. Another way that you can expand is by using your voice to make tones. So you can breathe into that sensation and let out a sound like and this is a really effective way of working with energy, because by focusing even more on creating a sound, opening your channel, you shift your focus away from all of these distracting thoughts and the stories that your mind is running. Sound healing is one of the most powerful ways to attune your vibration, and when you're toning, singing, even humming, you're opening your vagus nerve, and doing this changes the chemistry of your brain. It lowers inflammation, it shifts your mood, and does a lot quite instantaneously. So I really recommend using sound as a catalyst to expand your ability to relax deeper into yourself. So talking then finally to the physical body, because our physical body and our nervous system is often programmed to be in fear, and we don't, people are moving so fast and so rapidly throughout the world and throughout their lives that they are in a state of fear. Anxiety is a mild state of fear. Some states of anxiety are not so mild, but that is a state of fear, and most people are unconscious of it. So now people don't have as much to do, and all of this is going to be really shifting high up to the surface. Okay, so we can do all of this work with our mental body and our emotional body, but nothing is really ingrained and stable within us until we also bring it to our physical body. So yoga, exercise, qigong, tai chi, any of these are really helpful. So I am a yoga practitioner of, I guess, 8 or 9 years now, and my practice has shifted and evolved in so many ways, though, without doing this 5 or 6 times a week, that's how I do it now, without doing it at least half the time, let's say that, I am not in a balanced state. And I know that the days when I wake up and I get too worked up into something to do my practice are days when I'm off. And I can have gratitude for this because the pace of life has slowed down to a point that there's no reason for me to miss my yoga practice. And I'm grateful for that, and I'm experiencing a lot of deeper healing in the body. And this is also to say that yoga doesn't take care of everything. And sometimes more rounded, dynamic, yoga's kind of dynamic, but rounded, kind of natural movements like dancing, qigong or tai chi, open up energy blockages and allow you to release them that yoga can't do. So having a balanced practice is helpful. And if you're finding the practice that you're already doing with your body isn't working, it's a good time to try something new. If you're finding that you're just going through the routine when you're doing your practice, then it's good to allow yourself to expand into other ways of doing it, other ways of balancing and healing your physical body. So we went from the mental body in, and we can talk about the spiritual body. And of course, this is connected with the crown chakra as well. Like all of the energy bodies have some connection, correlation to a chakra center in that they have a similar function. And the crown chakra, this is a coronavirus. Corona means crown. That is happening right now. If you're watching this video after all of this has worked out and you're looking back laughing like, that was a funny trip that humanity went on. But the crown, the spiritual body, this is the place that we rest into in pure consciousness. So the best way to really tap into this is through meditation and stillness. And we're tapping into this whenever we're finding that pause between the thoughts. And throughout the day, like meditation is sort of a practice to set us up for the day. So in meditation, we bring our awareness into the pause between our thoughts. And like I was talking about in clearing the emotional body, you don't identify with the thoughts. You don't try to fight them off. Thinking is a natural part of it. We're meant to be thinking all the time. Otherwise, we wouldn't think at all. But we can expand the space between the thoughts. We can't ever fully get rid of them, but we can expand the space between them. And when we can rest into that, we enter into this bliss state. And maybe it's bliss is a way that I experience it a lot. Not everyone goes directly to that aspect of it. It can be peace, it can be compassion, it can be love. Everyone from their own unique sort of experience and soul blueprint will tap into a different aspect of that divine consciousness for their process and their journey of awakening. So it's really about going beyond, again, any of our attachments to outcomes, going beyond what we think should happen, going beyond what our plans were before all of this erupted, going beyond all of it, and allowing yourself to be in the flow. So I also want to talk a bit about fear, because all of this was about releasing fear from different levels of our being. And fear is also something that channels itself into many different masks. So the most common, I wouldn't even describe it as a mask, it's kind of more of a form, like something that fear uses to serve a certain purpose. So one is anger, anxiety, depression, sadness. These are all faces for fear. They're all covering up or sometimes not covering up, sometimes you're still aware of it, but they're channeling that fear into something to serve their purpose. And when you use that core intention within that emotional state, you can work through the fear quicker. Though you also have to allow yourself to notice and bring awareness into the fear that is behind the anger. Because if you try to solve the situation, or especially a conflict within relationships that is causing anger, in the state of anger, you will often expand that fear within yourself in a way that isn't helpful and affect others, bring them into that lower vibration as well. So by using these tools and bringing your awareness into the fear behind the emotion, you are more likely to respond and not react, to speak with clarity and equanimity, and not push your emotions or your agendas or your ideas onto others. So for me, beyond the anxiety and the fear of like not knowing where I belong in all of the things that are happening now, experience the fear of just wasn't aware of this fear completely. At first I was very thought it was kind of silly, funny how people were reacting in such extreme ways to what was happening. And with time, when I started to see, almost everyone I know, to some degree, buying into what I consider propaganda, what I consider unnecessary measures, I became kind of angry. I was like, why are people giving away their freedom? Why are people playing along with this in order to appease others? Why are people assimilating into a herd and pack mentality? And yeah, it awakened a lot of anger in me. And I had to sit with that and go to the fear behind it. And then, working with those different tools. So what I'm fearing is that everyone is just going to hop on board a totalitarian takeover. Everyone's going to step by step give more and more of their power away. Everyone's going to submit themselves to this, and it's going to lead to a complete fascist totalitarian society. That's really scary for me. And then I sit with that and I think, well, what can I do in the meantime? What am I going to do if that really arises? And I come up with a lot of solutions. I live in alternative communities. I continue to develop my spiritual meditative practices, and I teach them to people who are open to it. I find a new life off grid and go really deep off grid. Those are all potential things that would happen if it went to the deepest extreme. And within that same anger, there's other fears. There's fears that my sort of more open and even rebellious attitude towards some of these measures is going to disconnect me from certain people. We're going to split ways. And what is the fear behind that? Being rejected, being pushed out of the tribe. So the fear of rejection is one of the most ancient fears in our being, because thousands of years ago, if our ancestors were rejected from their tribe, that would mean their death. And now we're in such a big world that if some group of people rejects us, there's always some other people out there who can support us, and there's systems in place for us with privilege in the world, who are many of the people watching this, and probably it's getting out there to other places as well. Bless you all. Sorry if that triggers you. The privilege of being able to reach out to others and have even governments and stuff that support us. Yet still within rejection, there is this gut response of, oh, I might die. That same kind of fight or flight comes up. And, a simpler way of saying a lot of the things I said today another way of looking at it is the remedy for fear is self-love. The remedy for fear is being able to hold yourself and see yourself as worthy of love, and affirm to yourself that you are so deserving of all of the things you desire and all of the things that you want for and all of the connections that you need. So you have to love yourself within the fear, and doing these practices again is not a way to make the fear wrong, because again, in doing these practices, like when we're working with the energy and spreading it through our body, and we're allowing it to expand and encompass all of us, and seeing in doing that it transmutes automatically, we're also showing ourselves that fear and love are the same thing on this energy spectrum, and all we have to do is raise the vibration of that fear. That one core thought that may be ticking away at us, that energy always exists. You can't get rid of a thought and erase it from reality. So all you can do is raise the vibration of the thought, and the same core intention that you were trying to achieve of some expression of love, because everything is either love or a request for love, right? We'll talk about that another time. But that core intention, that same thought, at a higher vibration becomes realized, and we can see the reality of it. So my camera's gonna die. Well, no, it's just gonna end this video in a second. So I'm gonna pause for now, and hope that this sharing really helped you get deeper. If you're experiencing any of these intense emotions, go deeper to what's behind it, and really love yourself by just allowing yourself to feel it and assuring yourself it'll be okay. Have beautiful conversations with people who can lift your spirits, and disconnect when you are in a low vibration from people who are in a lower vibration until you feel ready to lift them up. Watch youtube.com/blissbeings for more videos like this and my channeling sessions. And I offer one-to-one support in channeling, coaching, astrology, and just helping you find your power and discover more of yourself and find healing and balance in your life, so you can